Life, and I have known since I was not be good enough and you don't have enough people supporting you and you're being told all of these things when deep down it's all you want to do. You want to be a part of something great. You want to make something great. And it does more than knock the wind out of you. It crushes you when people try to tell you that you're not good enough. And it almost did for me, but there was my mom next to me, stronger than ever. And she said, the most important thing is to always trust in myself. If I have 2 years later, I got my own show, and the first thought wasn't, oh man, that girl when I was 11 said I wouldn't carry my own show, and I did. I mean, I thought about that for a little bit, but I thought about what my mom said. My mom was like, you have to trust yourself, and I realized if I didn't believe that I could do it, I wouldn't be able to be here. And I'm gonna say I live a very blessed life. I have so much to be thankful for, and a lot of you are a big part of inspiring me because I don't think you get it, and maybe you're not told enough, but you inspire me to be better, and we should inspire each other to be better. I'm surrounded by people who are supposed to guide me, and some of them have, and others haven't. They pressure me. There's so much pressure. You gotta be sexy, you gotta be nice, you gotta be all these things. And I'm sure you can all relate. You all have pressure that you have to deal with every day. I'm sure with school, with work, with friends, with parents, with family, with parents, I know sometimes with mine. They tell me what to wear, how to look, what I should say, how I should be. Until recently, I had given in to that pressure. I lost sight of who I was. I listened to opinions of people, and I tried to change who I am because I thought that others would accept me for it. And I realized I don't know how to be anything but myself. And all I really want you to know is that you are changing the world. I'm not changing the world, you're changing the world, and that's amazing. Please just be kind to each other and love and inspire people, because let's do it, let's change the game, let's change the game. The most important thing is that we learn and we continue to learn from each other. Please stay true to yourself. Please just remain who you are and know that we have each other's back. All of us have each other's back. They have a lot they can teach us. They are incredible examples of young people fighting for a cause that they believe in. We Day, please welcome Hannah and Arjun, joined by the Oakland Youth Orchestra.
Thank you for that presentation. And please don't call me ma'am. I'm your age, I think. How old is everybody here, maximum? I just turned 23, so we're the same age. Woo! Thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very happy to be here and addressing this crowd who's... I consider you as my friends, all of you, because we're the same age. I don't know where to start. So I'm a student myself. I just finished my graduation, and all I want to say is that this life that you're living right now, your college life, this life is your most important period. You should really, really focus on your college life, because what I did is I missed out on my college years because I was very busy practicing kickboxing and karate and mixed martial arts. I had no time. My college was 2 hours away from where I used to live. I am not really from proper Bombay. I am from this place called Kalyan, which is sort of at the outskirts of Bombay. So I used to travel 2 hours for my college, but I had no time because I had to focus more on my sports. That was my first priority always. So I missed out on my college days. I did not go for college festivals. I did not have a group of friends. You know, all these groupies, homies. I didn't have no homies. I was alone. And I had only one best friend, and that's it. That's my college life. And I really, really feel sad that I missed out on it. But then I focused on sports, and that is how I got Iridishitru. That is how everything happened. That is how my life changed. And if you have something in life that you really, really like, if you have a special talent, or if your heart is into something else, I will not say that completely neglect studies. Do not ever neglect studies. I'm a graduate, yo. Okay? Don't neglect studies. But then focus on what you're really, really good at, and make that your strong point, because that's what I did as well. And I also believe that in life, no matter what you do, every day, give your 100%, because you never know what's coming for you. You never know what's the next step, right? I don't know how Iridishitru came to me. Maddy sir saw me fighting. I wasn't even aware that he's looking at me. I just gave my best shot. And he's like, who's this girl? She's good. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing a film. I was very happy. So that's how it happened for me. And when Iridishitru started, I don't even know Tamil. I don't even speak Tamil. It was a very new thing for me to do. Acting, I've never done it before. I've never done this, like talk to people and face cameras. So that's why I look really bad sometimes in pictures. I'm always like, because I don't know the camera is on me. I get really awkward. So I just give my 100%. That's it. That's all I do. What else do I have to say? Yeah, do not fall for bad things. I know our age, 22, 23, 21, we get attracted towards things that are sort of negative, towards negative people who try to be very smart and play with us. I've been played many times, yeah. I've been played a lot. But I'm learning. I still am played with every day, but I learn from my experiences. That's what's the most important thing in life. Learn from your mistakes. Don't just let mistakes happen and then, they'll happen again because you're not learning. So learn. And you know what? Don't do drugs. Please, don't do drugs. And alcohol and all, can you believe this? I'm such a nice kid. I've never touched alcohol. I've never touched a cigarette in my entire life. And drugs, never. Thank you. Thank you. I've never done it because I had something that was very important in my life, and that was my sports. As a sports person, if I do all that, I lose my career, I lose my life. And what else? Yeah, work out every day. Like go for a run, go for a jog, whatever, work out, because I think that your body is your best accessory. You don't need no earrings, jackets, clothes if you have a hot body, right? So I'm so sorry, oh my God. So just, exercise, because your body is your best accessory. So make sure you work on it every day, eat good food. I also love junk food. I'm a huge McDonald's fan, but then I have to sometimes control, not because I'm in films, not because I'm an actress, because I'm a human and my body supports me every day of my life. I've been living happily since 23 years, okay? Because my body has supported me so well. So it's
self-taught. I don't think confidence is something that you are born with. I don't think confidence is, it's a skill set. And I had no confidence growing up. As a child, I was I had very low self-esteem. I was gawky as a teenager. I lived in America. I was made to feel conscious about the fact that I was Indian. That was weird at that time, and not by everyone, but just by like a few bullies in school that hated me. And high school's hard for everyone. But so I was in a very weird sort of teenage place. And when Miss India happened, I'm inherently competitive. I think the fact that I was competitive pushed me to teach myself to be confident. Initially, I faked it till I made it. I was just like, I'm not gonna let anyone see that I'm scared, or I'm not gonna let anyone see that I'm affected. And over time, I realized, like, as a woman, as a girl in this world, if I allow myself to be hurt, or if I allow myself to be affected, that's all I'm going to be. And I'm not, trying to say that it's an issue that just women have. It's not easy to be a woman in show business, and especially a woman who's opinionated, especially someone who I'm sort of like, and I wasn't like that from the beginning. I sort of learned. So confidence is something I taught myself over the years. I started becoming okay with who I am. I became the best version of me. And then I sort of said, I'm okay, I'm all right. Even if someone else thinks this, I'm okay. And everyone can do that. People just don't realize it. I was always creative in school, but I didn't know what to do with it. I used to write, I did plays, I would do school, but my aspiration was never to be creative. And now that I found this vocation, I'm producing, I write columns, my creativity comes out in whatever way it can. And I think somehow something guides you. What that is, I don't know. I don't have a name for it. I don't think it's a religion. I don't know if it's God. I don't know what it is. But I think something is bigger than us. And I believe in that. Well, when I became Miss India, I sort of was on strange ground myself, because I was in college, I was studying, and now I'm suddenly Miss World, and I was traveling all over the world, being an ambassador, and suddenly movie offers started coming to me from India, because I think producers thought that it would make business sense to, have a Miss World in a movie, and I guess it did, because in my second films, like I won a lot of awards. I didn't think I could act. I just went in there with the idea of, okay, I can learn a new skill set. I may not know what acting is about, but I can learn. So that's how I taught myself. I've never been to film school. My career has been my film school. I've fallen down, I've dusted myself off. I've been okay to fail. I don't like failure. I'll never let the same failure happen to me again, because I learn from it. I like knowledge. I like learning from the people around me, and I don't think anyone reaches a point, no matter how successful you are in life, where you can't learn something new. And I think that sort of got me to where I am, and that's been a big part of my work ethic. I remember when no one wanted to ask me anything, and I get that. I remember when, and I still am, like sometimes there's so many fights that I do, but I remember when nobody wanted my opinion, or I remember when I had to work on, when I was just the side chick to the guy, and I had to work and do small but important, significant parts to prove that I can and I will, and then triumph. So no one can be that. You can't be like, oh, destiny's gonna knock on my door one day. No, it won't. You have to be able to recognize opportunities, because there'll be a lot of them that come into your life, and once you recognize an opportunity, you have to seize the day and work bloody hard, because there'll be 25 other people who want to do it. I was told that I won it because of confidence, because I asked later. There were so many more beautiful women than me, but of course I was curious. So I was like, what was it? And they were like, just you, when you speak, you're just eloquent and confident. And and I was 18, and I realized how important it was. I mean, I was Miss World at 18 just because I was confident. So it made me understand that confidence truly is the key to getting ahead in life. If you believe in yourself, the world will believe in you, because perception is reality.
Today we have Elon Musk. Elon, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we want to spend the time today talking about your view of the future and what people should work on. So to start off, could you tell us, you famously said when you were younger there were 5 problems that you thought were most important for you to work on. If you were 22 today, what would the 5 problems that you would think about working on be?
Well, first of all, I think if somebody is doing something that is useful to the rest of society, I think that's a good thing. Like, it doesn't have most likely to affect the future of humanity. I think AI is probably the single biggest item in the near term that's likely to affect humanity. So it's very important that we have the advent of AI in a good way. That is something that if you could look into the crystal ball and see the future, you would like that outcome, because it is something that could go wrong, as we've talked about many times, and so we really need to make sure it goes right. That's I think AI, working on AI and making sure it's a great future. That's the most important thing I think right now, the most pressing item. Then obviously anything to do with genetics. If you can actually solve genetic diseases, if you can prevent dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, with genetic reprogramming, that would be wonderful. So I think this genetics, it might be the sort of second most important item. I think having a high bandwidth interface to the brain, like we're currently bandwidth limited. We have a digital tertiary self in the form of our email capabilities, our computers, phones, applications. We're effectively superhuman, but we're extremely bandwidth constrained in that interface between the cortex and your sort of that tertiary digital form of yourself. And helping solve that bandwidth constraint would be, I think, very important for the future as well.
So one of the, I think, most common questions I hear young people, ambitious young people ask is, I want to be the next Elon Musk. How do I do that? Obviously, the next Elon Musk will work on very different things than you did. But what have you done, or what did you do when you were younger that you think sort of set you up to have a big impact?
Well, I think first of all I should say that I did not expect to be involved in all these things. So the 5 things that I thought about at the time in college, which is now quite a long time ago, 25 years ago, making life multiplanetary, accelerating the transition to sustainable energy, the internet, broadly speaking, and then genetics and AI. I think I didn't expect to be involved in all of those things. I actually, at the time in college, I sort of thought helping with electrification of cars was how I would start out, and that's actually what I worked on as an intern, was advanced ultracapacitors to see if they would be a breakthrough relative to batteries for energy storage in cars. And then when I came out to go to Stanford, that's what I was going to be doing my grad studies on, was working on advanced energy storage technologies for electric cars. And then I put that on hold to start an internet company in '95, because there does seem to be like a time for particular technologies when they're at a steep point in the inflection curve, and I didn't want to do a PhD at Stanford and watch it all happen, and I wasn't entirely certain that the technology I'd be working on would actually succeed. Like you can get a doctorate on many things that ultimately do not have a practical bearing on the world, and I wanted to I really was just trying to be useful. That's the optimization. It's like, what can I do that would actually be useful?
Do you think people that want to be useful today should get PhDs?
Mostly not.
So what is the best way to be
Some
useful?
yes, but mostly not.
How should someone figure out how they can be most useful?
Whatever this thing is that you're trying to create, what would be the utility delta compared to the current state of the art times how many people it would affect? So that's why I think having something that makes a big difference but affects a sort of small to moderate number of people is great, as is something that makes even a small difference, but affects a vast number of people. Like the area, under the
area
curve.
under the curve.
Yeah, exactly. The area under the curve would actually be roughly similar for those two things. So it's actually really about just trying to be useful and matter.
And then when you're trying to estimate probability of success, so you say this thing will be really useful, good area under the curve. I guess to use the example of SpaceX. When you made the go decision that you were actually going to do that, this was kind of a very crazy thing at the time.
Very crazy,
very
for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah, people are not shy about saying that. But I kind of agree. I agreed with them that it was quite crazy. Crazy if the objective was to achieve the best risk-adjusted return, starting a rocket company is insane. But that was not my objective. I'd simply come to the conclusion that if something didn't happen to improve rocket technology, we would be stuck on Earth forever. And the big aerospace companies had just had no interest in radical innovation. All they wanted to do was try to make their old technology slightly better every year, and in fact, sometimes it would actually get worse. And particularly in rockets, it's pretty bad. Like in '69, we were able to go to the moon with the Saturn V, and then the space shuttle could only take people to low Earth orbit, and then the space shuttle retired. I mean, that trend is basically trends to zero. People sometimes think technology just automatically gets better every year, but it actually doesn't. It only gets better if smart people work like crazy to make it better. That's how any technology actually gets better. And by itself, technology, if people don't work on it, actually will decline. I mean, you can look at the history of civilizations, many civilizations, and look at, say, ancient Egypt, where they were able to build these incredible pyramids, and then they basically forgot how to build pyramids. And then even hieroglyphics, they forgot how to read hieroglyphics. Or you look at Rome and how they were able to build these incredible roadways and aqueducts and indoor plumbing, and they forgot how to do all of those things. There are many such examples in history. So I think should always bear in mind that entropy is not on your side. Yeah.
One thing I really like about you is you are unusually fearless and willing to go in the face of other people telling you something is crazy. And I know a lot of pretty crazy people, you still stand out. Where does that come from, or how do you think about making a decision when everyone tells you this is a crazy idea? Or where do you get the internal strength to do that?
Well, first of all, I'd say I actually think I feel fear quite strongly. So it's not as though I just have the absence of fear. I feel it quite strongly. But there are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough, that you do it in spite of the fear.
So speaking of important things,
like people shouldn't think people shouldn't think, well, I feel fear about this and therefore I shouldn't do it. It's normal to feel fear. Like there'd have to be something mentally wrong if you didn't feel fear.
So you just feel it and let the importance of it drive you to do it anyway.
Yeah, actually, something that can be helpful is fatalism, to some degree. If you just accept the probabilities, then that diminishes fear. When starting SpaceX, I thought the odds of success were less than 10%, and I just accepted that actually probably I would just lose everything. But that maybe would make some progress if we could just move the ball forward. Even if we died, maybe some other company could pick up the baton and keep moving it forward, so that would still do some good. Same with Tesla. I thought the odds of a car company succeeding were extremely low.
What do you think the odds of the Mars colony are at this point today?
Well, oddly enough, I actually think they're pretty good.
So like, when can I go?
Okay. At this point, I am certain there is a way. I'm certain that success is one of the possible outcomes for establishing a self-sustaining Mars colony, in fact, a growing Mars colony. I'm certain that that is possible, whereas until maybe a few years ago, I was not sure that success was even one of the possible outcomes. Some meaningful number of people going to Mars, I think this is potentially something that can be accomplished in about 10 years, maybe sooner. Maybe 9 years. I need to make sure that SpaceX doesn't die between now and then, and that I don't die, or if I do die, that someone takes over who will continue that.
You shouldn't go on the first launch.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Actually,
the first launch will be robotic anyway, so.
I want to go except for that internet latency.
Yeah, the internet latency would be pretty significant. Mars is roughly 12 light minutes from the sun, and Earth is 8 light minutes, so at closest approach, Mars is 4 light minutes away. At furthest approach, is 20. A little more because you can't sort of talk directly through the sun.
Speaking of really important problems, AI. So you have been outspoken about AI. Could you talk about what you think the positive future for AI looks like and how we get there?
Okay, I mean, I do want to emphasize that this is not really something that I advocate, or this is not prescriptive. This is simply hopefully predictive. Because people sometimes say, well, like this is something that I want to occur, instead of this is something that I think that probably is the best of the available alternatives. The best of the available alternatives that I can come up with, and maybe somebody else can come up with a better approach or better outcome, is that we achieve democratization of AI technology, meaning that no one company or small set of individuals has control over advanced AI technology. I think that's very dangerous. It could also get stolen by somebody bad, like some evil dictator of a country could send their intelligence agency to go steal it and gain control. It just becomes a very unstable situation, I think, if you've got any incredibly powerful AI. You just don't know who's going to control that. So it's not as though I think that the risk is that the AI would develop a will of its own right off the bat. I think it's more that's the concern is that someone, so it doesn't get concentrated in the hands of a few. But then of course that needs to be combined with solving the high bandwidth interface to the cortex.
Humans are so slow.
Humans are so slow. Yes, exactly. But we already have a situation in our brain where we've got the cortex and limbic system, and the limbic system is kind of that's the primitive brain. It's kind of like your instincts and whatnot, and then the cortex is the thinking upper part of the brain. Those two seem to work together quite well. Occasionally, your cortex and limbic system may disagree, but it
generally works pretty well.
Generally works pretty well, and it's like rare to find someone who I've not found someone who wishes to either get rid of their cortex or get rid of their limbic system.
Very true.
Yeah, that's unusual. So I think if we can effectively merge with AI by improving that the neural link between your cortex and your digital extension of yourself, which already, like I said, already exists, just has a bandwidth issue, and then effectively you become an AI human symbiote, and if that then is widespread with anyone who wants it can have it, then we solve the control problem as well. We don't have to worry about some sort of evil dictator AI, because kind of we are the AI collectively. That seems like the best outcome I can think of.
So you've seen other companies in their early days that start small and get really successful. Hope I know we're asking this on camera, but how do you think OpenAI is going as a 6-month-old company?
It seems to be going pretty well. I think we've got a really talented group at OpenAI, and
Seems like it.
yeah, really talented team, and they're working hard. OpenAI is structured as a 501c3 nonprofit, but many nonprofits do not have a sense of urgency. It's fine; they don't have to have a sense of urgency, but OpenAI does, because I think people really believe in the mission. I think it's important, and it's about minimizing the risk of existential harm in the future. And so I think it's going well. I'm pretty impressed with what people are doing and the talent level. And obviously we're always looking for great people to join who believe in the mission.
Close to 40 people now.
Yeah.
It's going well. All right, just a few more questions before we we wrap up, how do you spend your days now? Like, what do you allocate most of your time to?
My time is mostly split, it's split between SpaceX and Tesla, and of course I try to spend it's a part of every week at OpenAI. So I spend basically half a day at OpenAI most weeks, and then I have some OpenAI stuff that happens during the week. But other than that, it's really
And what do you do
SpaceX
when
and
you're
Tesla.
at SpaceX or Tesla? Like, what does your time look like there?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think a lot of people think I must spend a lot of time with media or on businessy things, but actually almost all my time, like 80% of it, is spent on engineering and design. So it's developing next generation product. That's 80% of it.
You probably don't remember this. A very long time ago, many, many years, you took me on a tour of SpaceX. And the most impressive thing was that you knew every detail of the rocket and every piece of engineering that went into it. And I don't think many people get that about you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think I'm kind of a business person or something, which is fine. Like, business is fine, but but really, it's it's like at SpaceX. Gwynne Shotwell is Chief Operating Officer. She kind of manages legal, finance, sales, and kind of general business activity. And then my time is almost entirely with the engineering team, working on improving the Falcon 9 and the Dragon spacecraft, and developing the Mars colonial architecture. And then at Tesla, it's working on the Model 3 and some in the design studio, typically half a day a week, dealing with aesthetics and look and feel things, and then most of the rest of the week is just going through engineering of the car itself, as well as engineering of the factory. Because the biggest epiphany I've had this year is that what really matters is the machine that builds the machine, the factory, and that is at least 2 orders of magnitude harder than the vehicle itself.
It's amazing to watch the robots go here and these cars just happen.
Yeah. Now, this actually has a relatively low level of automation compared to what the Gigafactory will have and what Model 3 will have.
What's the speed on the line of these cars?
Actually, the average speed of the line is incredibly slow. It's probably about, including both X and S, it's maybe 5 centimeters per second.
And what can you get to?
This is very slow.
Or what would you like to get to?
I'm confident we can get to at least 1 meter per second, so a 20-fold increase.
That would be very fast.
Yeah. At least. I mean, I think 1 meter per second, just to put that in perspective, is a slow walk, or like a medium speed walk. A fast walk could be 1.5 meters per second. And then the fastest humans can run over 10 meters per second. So if we're only doing 0.05 meters per second, that's very slow, current speed. And at 1 meter per second, you can still walk faster than the production line.
Welcome, Jack Ma.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've all become very cognizant of Jack and his story. And when Alibaba went public with the largest IPO in history, we knew a lot more about him. So I want to talk about his personal story. I want to talk about how many times he tried and failed and what kept him going. I want to talk about where he is today and how he got here, and where he is going and how he expects to get there. And if he gets there, what will it all mean for him and for the people that he wants to inspire? So I begin with this question, though, Jack. Why are you back at Davos?
It's a long break for 7 years. I think my last trip here was year 2008. But I was coming for year 2001 for the Young Global Leader for Tomorrow. And remember, I never heard about the Davos when I came. But when I came, in the Switzerland, so many young people demonstrate. It was such a horrible scene that I asked them, why did they do it? They say, globalization. And I said, why? Globalization is a great thing. Why people don't like it? And then we come all the way for 2 hours here. There's a machine gun. There's a people checking us. I say, oh God, is that a fallen or is it prison? We're gonna go inside. But when I joined the Forum as the young global leader, I was thrilled by so many ideas. For the first 3-4 years, I learned what does the globalization mean? What does the corporate citizenship mean? What about social responsibility mean? All these new ideas, and I see so many great leaders talking about leadership, and I benefit a lot. And the year 2008 and 9, when the financial crisis came, I think it's better go back to work, because we can never win the world by talking. So we go back, spend 7 years. Now I come back, I think it's time to do something return, because I learned so much.
Let's talk
12
about
years
that.
ago. So why I should not talking to the young global leader of today, sharing with them how we gone through.
Okay.
So that was the thing.
Let's start with where you are today. Just how big is Alibaba? How many people come every day? How many people come in a week? How fast is it growing?
Yeah, we have over 100 million buyers visiting our site, shopping our site every day. And we created
100 million every day.
We created 14 million jobs for China, directly and indirectly. And we grow from 18 people to 30,000 people, 18 people in my apartment, to now we have a 4 big campus. Compared to 15 years ago, we were big. But compared to 15 years later, we're still a baby.
How big will you be 15 years from now?
I think 15 years ago, I told my team that 15 years, in the past 15 years, we grow from nothing to this size. And 15 years later, I want people to know about Alibaba, know Taobao, because it's already everywhere. I want 15 years ago when we talk about what is e-commerce, why small business can using this e-commerce, this internet, can do business across the nation. And I hope 15 years later, people forget about e-commerce because they think it's like electricity. Nobody thinks it's a high tech today. Now, this is something that I don't want 15 years later, we still walk on the street talking about why and how e-commerce can help people.
Talk about the IPO. Did it exceed your expectations?
Well, it's a pretty small IPO, 250.
Yes.
Yeah,
the largest IPO in the history of Wall Street. Of
We
the world.
raised, we
And
raised.
number 2 was a Chinese bank.
Thank you. I remember year 2001, we went to raise some 5 million, 3 million venture capitalist dollars in the USA and got rejected. And I say we come back raising a little bit more. But I think, what we think more about is for $25 billion, how we can spend the money efficiently, because this is not the money, this is the trust from the world, the trust from those people. They want you to do better jobs to help more people. They want to have a good return. So I think gives me more pressure because when our market cap is bigger than IBM, for a certain day we're bigger than Walmart. We're one of the top 10, 15 largest market cap company in the world. I told my team and myself, is that true? We're not that good. Because years ago, people say, Alibaba model is terrible. Does not make money, have this and that, all the big bad things, because Amazon is better, eBay is better, Google is better, and there's no such model like Alibaba in the USA. So I told myself and people, we were better than people thought. But today, when we are that big size, I said, no, we are not that good as people thought. We're just a company 15 years old. Average age is 27, 28 years old, young people. We're doing something that human beings have never tried. So
I want to talk about the future. Let me take you back to when you were born in Hangzhou, where the headquarters still are.
Yep.
And your campus is there.
You don't have a loot, don't move your loot. Your headquarters
roots are there.
Yeah, you found it there, loot there.
You grew up in the 60s.
64.
That was born in 64. That was the time of the Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, it was the end of the Cultural Revolution. It was, well, my grandfather was a tiny landlord, was considered, after liberation, was considered to be a bad guy. So I was, I know how tough it was when I was a kid.
You tried to get into 3 colleges. Each time they rejected you.
No, I tried. There is an examination that young people, if you want to go university, you have to take the examinations. So I failed 3 times.
Right.
But a lot of fail. I failed for funny things that I failed a key primary school test for 2 times. And I failed 3 times for the middle schools. And you will never believe in Hangzhou, my city, there's only 1 middle school that lasts only 1 year. It was changed from primary school to middle school because our graduates of our school, no middle school accept us because we were too bad. Yeah. They would become a middle school.
What effect did it have, though, being rejected?
Well, I think we have to get used to it. We're not that good. Even today, we still have a lot of people reject us. I think when I graduate from universities, and before I, for 3 years, I tried to fill in the universities. So I applied jobs for 30 times, got rejected. I went for a police, they said, no, you're not good. I went to even the KFC. When KFC came to China, come to my city, 24 people went for the job. 23 people were accepted. I was the only one guy. And we went for police. 5 people, 4 of them accepted. I was the only guy that I received it. So to me, being turned down, rejected. Oh, by the way, I told you that I applied for Harvard for 10 times, rejected. I know I'll be rejected. I just don't want to say that.
They're sorry now. 10 times you wrote them and said, I'd like to come to Harvard.
Yeah. And then I told myself, someday I should go teach there, buddy.
I think that can be arranged. Richard Nixon came to Hangzhou.
Yeah.
And after that, tourists flooded the place.
Yeah.
And that's how you learned English.
Yeah. I really like I don't know why at 12, 13 years old, that time I suddenly fell in love into the language, the English. And there's no place you can learn English at that time. There's no books, English books. So I went to the Hangzhou Hotel, now called Hangzhou Shangri-La Hotel, because that was the hotel can receive the foreign visitors. So every morning for 9 years, I showed them around as a free guide, and they taught me English. And I think that changed me. Today, I'm 100% made in China. I've never got a one-day train outside China.
Yeah.
And when people talk to me, say, Jack, how can you speak English like that? Why sometimes you talk like an Western guys? I think that was the 9 years. These Western tourists opened my mind because everything they told me are so different from the things I learned from the schools and from my parents. So now I have a habit. Whatever I see, whatever I read, I use my mind. Think about for 2 minutes.
Is that how Ma Jun became Jack Ma?
Actually, Jack, the name was given by a lady in tennis. She's a tourist. She came here and she said, came to Hangzhou. We become a pen friends. Ma Ring is so difficult to pronounce. So she said, do you have an English name? I said, don't. So can you give me an English name? She said, okay. She said, my father called it Jack. My husband called Jack. What do you think about Jack? I said, good. So I've been using that for that many years.
First visit to America, 1995?
1995, yeah. I came here for a project helping the local government to building up a highway.
And you tried the internet.
I tried the internet in Seattle, and in a building called the USA Bank. I don't know whether the USA Bank is still there or not, but it's a building. And my friend opened a small office, which is like only 10% bigger than this room, and there are a lot of computers in there. And he said, Jack, this is internet. I asked, what is internet? He said, search whatever you want. At that time, they used Mosaic, very slow, right? Yeah. And I said, I don't use it. I don't want to type because computer is so expensive in China. If I destroy it, yes, I cannot pay. He said, just to search it. So I searched the first word, beer. I don't know why, because it's easy to spell, baby. And I see beers from Germany, beers from USA, beers from Japan, but there's no beer from China. And I say, okay, type the second word is China. No data.
Nothing.
Nothing. And I said,
1995.
1995, no data about China. So I talked to my friend, why not make something about China? So we made a small, very ugly looking page called China. It's something like I did a translation agency, we listed on there. It was so shocking. We launched at 9:40 in the morning. 12:30, I got a phone call from my friend. He said, Jack, you got 5 emails. I said, what is email? And they say, these are the things. So people so excited. Where are you? This is the first time I see a Chinese website on that. How can we can we do something together? So I think this is something interesting. So we should do it.
Why did you call it Alibaba?
Alibaba? Well, when I started, I think internet is global. We should have a global name. And a name that, interesting, like at that time, the best name is Yahoo. Right, so I've been thinking for many days, suddenly thinking Alibaba is a good name. So I happened to be in San Francisco that day. I have a lunch, and the waitress came. I asked her, do you know about Alibaba? She said, yes. I said, what is Alibaba? She said, Open Sesame. Good. So I went on the street, asked about 10, 20 people. They all know about Alibaba, 40 Thieves, and Open Sesame. And I think this is a good name. And start with A. Whatever you talk about, Alibaba is always top.
You have said before that in creating Alibaba, you had to create trust.
Yep.
Because people in China were used to face-to-face.
Yeah.
How did you create trust?
I think because we started out doing business on the internet. I don't know you, you don't know me. So how can you do things online unless you have trust? So for e-commerce, the most important thing was trust. I think when I first went to USA for raising money, talked to the venture capitalists, a lot of people say, oh, Jack, no. China doing business by the guanxi. How can you do business on internet? And I know that without the trust system, the credit system, it's impossible to do business. So in the past 14 years, everything we do is trying to build up the trust system, the record system. Well, Charlie, I'm so proud today. When I talk to the young, today in China and in the world, people don't trust each other. The government and people and media and everybody think, this guy's cheating. But because of e-commerce, we finish 60 million transactions every day. People don't know each other. I don't know you, I send products to you. You don't know me, you wire the money to me. And I don't know you, I give a person a package, I don't know him. He took something to cross the ocean, cross the river, and send. This is the trust. We have at least 60 million trust happening every day.
But you created it by creating an escrow account in the beginning.
Yep.
And so you keep the money until they got the product.
Yeah.
And then you release the money.
That's true. I mean, the escrow service is about Alipay. This idea, I would love Davos, because it was a big decision. Because for first 3 years, Alibaba is just like e-marketplaces for information. What you have, what I have, we talk a lot of time, but don't do any business. Because there is no payment. I talked to the banks. No banks want to do it. Banks say, oh, no, this thing never work. So I don't know what to do. Because if I start to launch a payment system, it's against the financial legal laws. Because you have to have a license. But if I don't do it, e-commerce will go nowhere. So then I went to Davos. I listened to a leadership discussion. Leadership is about responsibility. And after I listened to that panel, I give a call to my friends, my colleagues in my apartment, say, do it now, immediately. If something wrong, the government not happy about that, if one body has to go to the prison, Jack might go to the prison. Because it is so important for China, for the world, to build up the trust system. And if you did not do it, I said, and do not do it properly, stealing money, money wash, no trust record, I send you to the prison. So that was the thing. And people don't like it. So many people I talked to at that time for Alipay, they say, this is the stupidest idea you have ever got. But I say, I don't wear the stupid club as long as people use it. Now we have 800 million people using this Alipay. Stupid things, if you do it better, is better.
Alipay is a privately held thing. It's not part of Alibaba.
No, it's a
Let
private.
me talk about money for a second.
Yeah.
You have never gotten money from the Chinese government?
No.
None. None.
I want it at the beginning, and later I don't want it, because I think if the company always think about picking money from out of the government pockets, that company is rubbish. Think about how can you make money from the customers and market and then help customers succeed. That's our philosophy.
No money from Chinese banks?
No. No. At that time I want, and now they want to give me, I don't want it.
Yeah. All right. Your relationship with the government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's your relationship? I mean, if they didn't here's what some say, that you have existed in an environment that's not, they have restricted competition for you. And that's a pretty good thing to do for a private company.
Yeah. I think the relationship with the government for us is very interesting. For the first 5 years, because I've been working as a part-time jobber for a government organization called Ministry of Foreign Trade, 1997, for 14 months. And I learned that you should never rely on government organization to do e-commerce. And I started a business. I told my people and team, in love with the government, don't marry them.
Yes.
Respect them. And a lot of people say, well, government officers talking about internet, the censorship and this, that, and they worry about. I think it's the opportunity, it's a responsibility talking to them. Tell them how internet can help.
So you tell them we create jobs.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people debate and fight against them. And in the first 12 years, anybody come to my office, I sit down, talking to them, how we can help economy, how we can create jobs, why China will improve by the internet. I think because internet at that time is new to any government. And if you convince somebody, and you have the chance. So today I'm very talkative. That probably, this is why I talk to so many people.
I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for. There's a quote from one of my English teachers, a little Marion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, rest at the end, not in the middle. And that's something I always live by. I'm not going to rest, I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go, right? And you just continue to build that way. So I try to live by that all the time.
At what age did that goal become crystal clear?
I made that deal with myself at 13 years old.
At 13 years old?
13 years old. That's the
You
deal
were
I
crystal
made.
clear about it.
Crystal clear.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game, the challenge. Like I would watch Magic play, I'd watch Michael play, and I would see them do these unbelievable things, and I'd say, you know, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. Let's find out. And so that curiosity to see where I could push this thing led me down that path, I think. I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10, 11 years old, and here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer. Not a free throw, nothing, not a lucky shot, not a breakaway layup, 0 points. And I remember crying about it, being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm gonna love you no matter what.
Wow.
Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, it gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. I have the security there. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60. And from there, I just went to work. I stayed with it. I kept practicing. I think that's when the idea of understanding a long-term view became important. Because I wasn't going to catch these kids in a week. I wasn't going to catch them in a year, right? So that's when I sat down and said, okay, this is going to take some thought, right? What do I want to work on first? All right, shooting. All right, let's knock this out. Let's focus on this. Half a year, 6 months, do nothing but shoot. Right after that, all right, creating your own shot. And you focus. So I started creating a menu of things. When I came back the next summer, I was a little bit better. I scored.
Yeah,
it wasn't much,
right,
but I scored.
This is 12, 13.
12, 13. And then 14 came around, back half of 13, 14 years old, and then I was just killing everyone. And it happened in 2 years. And I wasn't expecting it to happen in 2 years, but it did, because what I had to do was work on the basics and the fundamentals. While they relied on their athleticism and their natural ability. And because I stick to the fundamentals, it just caught up to them. And then my body, my knees stopped hurting, I grew into my frame, and then it was game over.
Wow. Were you always competitive from the day you were born? You were super competitive?
Competitive with things that I participate in. So I'll put it to you this way. So basketball for me was the most important thing. So everything I saw, whether it was TV shows, whether it was books I read, people I talked to, everything was done to try to learn how to become a better basketball player. Everything. And so when you have that point of view, then literally the world becomes your library to help you to become better at your craft. So at 13 years old, I had a kill list. And so, they used to do these rankings. It was Street and Smith basketball rankings. And I was nowhere to be found because I was like 6'4", scrawny, like 160 pounds soaking wet. So I was like 57 on the list. And so I would look at 56, 55, all the way up to number 1, who these players are, what club teams they played for. So when we go on an AAU travel circuit, I got to hunt them down. Right, and so that became my mission in high school, is to check off every other person, all those 56 other names, hunt them down and knock them down. So when we played at 13, I would size you up and see what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you approach the game? Are you silly about it? Are you goofy about it? Are you good at it just because you're bigger and stronger than everybody else? Right, or is there actually thought and skill that you put into it? Right? And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I always work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy.
What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. Since 20 years. It was an everyday process in trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Now, my vertical was a 40, it wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive. Right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast. Right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can't remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game, and it just never changed.
What does losing feel like to you?
It's exciting
Why is it exciting?
because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out that you can take advantage of, right? Certain weaknesses that were exposed that you need to shore up, right? So it was exciting. I mean, it sucks to lose,
Right.
but the hardest thing is to face that stuff. That's a really, really tough challenge.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
Well, you got to look at the reality of the situation. Like for me, it's not, you kind of got to get over yourself, right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. I didn't have the legs. So you look at the shot, every shot was online, but every shot was short. Right? I got to get stronger. I got to train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I got to tailor it for an 82 game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale and say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. Well, next year they'll be there. You have to do the hard stuff and watch that game and study that game to not make those mistakes over and over again just because you weren't brave enough to face it. So you got to deal with it. Got to deal with it. Face it, learn from it. You don't want to have that feeling again, do you? Right? So you got to really study it, face it, and not to say you'll win the next time you face it, but at least you'll give yourself a better chance.
Yeah.
It's an obsessiveness that comes along with it. You want things to be as perfect as they can be, understanding that nothing is ever perfect. But the challenge is trying to get them as perfect as they can be. And what can you do? It's in your control. So control what you can.
You have this mindset, but how did you develop that? And I don't know if that's what you call the Mamba mindset, but how did you develop that? And when did it start?
It started in middle school and high school. Because a lot of the kids that I was playing against were inner city kids. And so they're looking at me as if, okay, this kid's soft. They felt like they could try to be physical or try to intimidate me and do all this other stuff, which they couldn't, right? But now I'm saying, okay, well, you're trying to attack me. How am I going to attack you? How can I mentally figure out ways to break you down? How can I show you that, no, I have the edge, right? And so that's when it first started for me, is figuring out how to get the upper hand on an opponent that way.
And what would you do to mentally break people down then?
One of the things I would do is everybody would be at the cafeteria work, eating and doing all sort of stuff. I just go back to the gym. And so that was my way of showing them, yeah, I may be from the suburbs, but you're not going to outwork me.
Wow.
Like I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And we'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that.
Why not though? Why didn't you do that?
Well, because when I retire, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that. I play games with the flu. I play games with 102 degree fever, man. We had a game against Toronto in 2000, and Vince was tearing the league up. My back was jacked. So I would be in the layup line like, okay, there's a lot of days where you can rest and recover. Today ain't one of them. Your back can bother you any other day. That ain't bothering me today. He gonna have to see me today.
You're playing against the Golden State Warriors. Score is 107-109. You guys are close to getting into the playoffs. You know exactly what happens in the game. You go up, you're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom, Achilles happens, right? Friend of mine, Nima, he is here just to listen to. He played ball. And he told me, he says, Patrick, I don't think you understand. He says, when I tore my Achilles in high school, he says, 4 friends of mine dragged me to my hospital. I was crying from there straight to the hospital. He says, I have no clue how the hell this guy did it. He went and hit the free throws, and then you walked off the stage. How the hell do you tolerate that kind of pain?
I use this. I tell this example, and I think this is the best way to explain it. You have a hamstring injury, you pull your hamstring really, really badly. You can barely walk, right? Let alone play anything. You're at home, all of a sudden a fire breaks out in the home. Right? Your kids are upstairs, wife is wherever she may be, going down. I'm willing to bet that you're going to forget about your hamstring. You're going to sprint upstairs. You're going to grab your kids. You're going to make sure your wife's good. You're getting out of that house. And the reason is because the lives of your family are more important than the injury of your hamstring. And so when the game is more important than the injury itself, you don't feel that injury. Not at that time. Went in the trainer's room, my kids are in there, and they're looking at you and stuff, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, it's all right, Dad's gonna be all right. It'll be fine. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. As a parent, you gotta set the example. You gotta set the example. This is another obstacle. This obstacle cannot define me. It's not gonna cripple me. It's not gonna be responsible for me stepping away for the game that I love. I'm gonna step away on my own terms. And that's when the decision was made that, you know what, I'm doing it. You gotta lead by example. As parents, you gotta lead by example. If you want your kids to do whatever it is they want to accomplish in life, you have to show them. You gotta show them. The definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. I think that's what greatness is or should be. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. Yeah. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness. When you play the game, you hit a game-winning shot, you miss a shot, the reaction's there. You can see how people are responding to it, right? You can feel it.
The energy is
the energy is there. What I do now, you don't. Like, I don't see how people are affected by your basketball, or, creating the punies and you put it out there. Like, I wish I could see a car